Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Wisconsin Brewing Company Park in the DockHaus for DockHous Dialogue with Dom, our first show in the new year, 2025. Happy New Year. And thank you once again for coming out tonight. Special guest for our first show of the year, Stevie Diderrich. He is our bullpen coach here with the Country DockHounds. We've actually got one of his top relievers in the audience for us amongst you, Mitchell Miller. He's here tonight. Thanks for coming out. And Stevie, thank you so much for being here. How are you doing tonight?
Good, Dom. Thanks for having me out, man.
Yeah, no problem. And Stevie, amongst other things, is also my roommate when the DockHounds travel on the road for the American Association season. Looking forward to being with Stevie on the road and sharing a lot of memories. Also has a great following that he's started to build, teaching catching on social media, iron catching. We'll talk about that throughout the evening. Make sure to check him out on all socials, and he'll plug that towards the end of the show as well. Stevie, at this point last year, you were coaching at Sticks, I believe.
Yep.
And you were just offering lessons and classes for catching. And then all of a sudden, May comes around. The DockHounds had a different plan for their bullpen coach. That didn't work out. They asked you to come back after you were with the DockHounds in year one in 2022. What was that like, getting the call to rejoin the DockHounds on such a short notice and then joining the team and being here in spring training?
It was definitely an experience that I'm very thankful for. I was not expecting it. I was just asked to come around for spring training, and when I sat down with Huck and Tom, they asked me to come back, and I knew this is the place where I want to be, back at home here in Lake Country.
And for you, I'm sure it was very different year one, getting a part of the ramping up process and also just being new, but year three, especially coming off a team that nearly made the playoffs and was returning its manager, and there was some more familiarity with the staff and the players, so there was, I don't want to say less work on your part, but what difference did you feel in your comfortability joining the team that was already put together and then you were just brought in last second as opposed to being a part of the coaching staff in year one and being a part of the building process here?
I think the first year was more so getting a feel for what professional baseball is all about, especially the independent level. And when I was asked to come back here, it really wasn't any different. I knew what to expect. I knew what the expectations were. But once Hawk kind of set the expectations, the culture that he wanted throughout this team, we all kind of followed along. And that's something that I prided myself with helping with when we came back.
And for you in 2022, you were brand new to coaching. You were just coming off of your playing career. Did you ever view yourself as a coach when you were playing, both in high school and then in college?
No. Not even close. I wanted to play baseball as long as I could. I know my family could attest for that. But I didn't. When I was at Upper Iowa, where I played college baseball, it was more so about me playing, helping out our team win, and just trying to keep. Because my ultimate goal is to play professional baseball one day, and that didn't happen. But this has been the greatest journey in my career thus far.
And you talked about it. You were a player at Upper Iowa. All of a sudden, some injuries start to happen. You transition from being a middle infielder to being a catcher. You didn't catch exclusively, and I think that's what's really neat about you being the bullpen coach, the bullpen catcher, and now you're offering a lot of catching lessons and catching advice to young catchers. How was it for you transitioning from being a player to becoming a coach?
It was definitely different, like going from a playing mindset, because growing up, like, and being in the Oconomowoc area, I was more of a utility player, like what you spoke about there, and playing. And I always trained to be a catcher. Catching's always been my passion, but I could also play second base, third base, outfield, and that was always something where whatever my team needed me, that's what I would do. And I kind of brought the same mindset of wherever the team needs me into coaching, and that made it an easy transition, especially when I got into instructing. That was probably the best thing for me to understand. How can I relate to players? How can I make great relationships with players? And how can I make an impact with them off the field?
And I was about to say that just versatility aspect probably helped when you got that call in May when the season started on the 10th of, hey, we need a bullpen catcher, we need a bullpen coach. Can you come help us out? Did that help you out?
Oh yeah. It was more so from the first year. I remember when we were having kind of our exit interviews with Benny at the time, who was our manager, and asking about me coming back, and I was kind of in the middle about it, and because I was offered the position at Sticks and to be a catching instructor. But then once I came back here and wanted to keep pursuing my growth as a professional coach, I knew this was the opportunity to take.
And for you, let's go back to your playing days a little bit. We talked about Upper Iowa and playing at Oconomowoc High School. You're local here. Did you ever imagine when you were playing in this Lake Country area that you would have a professional team here, and then not only that, you would also be coaching for them?
No, not at all. I think it's been incredible. I think it's what Oconomowoc needs, and I know because Oconomowoc has such a wide and variety with the baseball community here. Everybody loves baseball, rooting back to the Oconomowoc 5-0s, the Legion program here, and even travel baseball around this area. And I just think it just brings this community even tighter.
And for you as a player, you talked about your versatility. Is there ever a moment that you look back on now that you are a coach where you can say that moment there led me to maybe think about that in the future, or maybe that moment is translated to me helping out some of these players?
Oh, yeah. I think definitely when my first injury happened, I tore my labrum, and that happened by diving for a ball at second base. I knew that I had the mindset I wanted to get back to playing. But then after COVID, that following fall, I was thrown down to second base, and I felt another pop in my shoulder where I needed bicep surgery, and that's where the conversation really started, where I knew baseball was playing-wise wasn't in my best interest, and I was always wondering what's my why with this, and I knew my why was to come back on the field, but in a different way, and it's to impact the players and help become a coach.
And you talk about your why and thinking and being very critical with your thoughts, and one thing that I've really gotten to enjoy about getting to know you is your faith and how you're very thoughtful with everything that you do.
Mm-hmm.
And you've kind of opened my eyes a little bit, especially with some of the chapels that we were able to attend this 2024 season, because baseball is played on Sunday. So us DockHounds and everyone else in the American Association across baseball, you can't attend church, but we have chapels, and you're one of the leaders here with the Lake Country DockHounds for that. How did you rely on your faith in those moments to come to terms with what was happening and that you could pursue this coaching path?
It's a deep question. I would definitely say through the process, when you have something that you love doing that's taken away from you, especially my first injury, that was a 10-month journey of not playing baseball, and you want to be playing, it leads you to something bigger in life. And my faith in God and Jesus that ultimately led me to learning there's more to life than a sport. And when you have that mindset, that leads you to make impact lives with your athletes or even with your family, and then my fiance over here. So it's ultimately led me to the greatest chapter in my life, but my faith is everything to me.
Good job getting that title right. I know I messed that up at one point during the season when talking about one of our players' partners. So good job getting that title right with Sarah there. But looking back also with your playing career, was there any coaches who may have made an impact on you that you now take advice from them that you've translated into your players or into the kids that you're offering lessons to?
There's too many to count. I could talk from my high school coaches, my travel ball coaches, and even the coaches that I'm with now through social media, if it's Huck, even Tom, like just through conversations. Like I try to pick pieces from everybody that I learn from, because I believe everybody has something to offer to you, whether you like it or not. You can learn from anybody, and you have the ability to grow in that way. So I would definitely say, but my biggest inspiration would be on social media. His name is Joe Singley, and that's where I got the whole social media get together with that. So,
and we had social media slated for a little bit later, so we'll stick to that. But wanted to talk about Ken Huckaby, the DockHounds manager here in Lake Country, and he has a catching background, caught in the major leagues for 7 seasons, and he was a pro for much longer than that. I was a catching coordinator with the Toronto Blue Jays organization as well, one of the MLB teams he played for, and just such a vast coaching experience. And it has to be really cool for you to be able to work for a manager who has the catching experience like Ken Huckaby does. What is it like working for Huck?
It's incredible. I remember from the first year, his son was a left-handed pitcher or reliever for us, and he was my roommate on some road trips. And we would always talk about Huck and always talk kind of like what my ultimate dream is with this to be a catching coordinator one day or to be a professional coach. And I remember sitting down with Tom and Huck when they brought me in, and that was something that we all talked about and how we can get me there, and it's been incredible. Huck's been an incredible mentor to me.
And then has there been something that he was able to teach you, either in the coaches' locker rooms or on the field in the cages, that you have been able to then translate to some of the kids that you give lessons to?
Yeah, definitely. He definitely has helped with the aspect of building relationships with players and understanding where players come from and the connection with players, and that's something I most admire about him. Like, we've had, with him being so busy with running the team throughout the season, that we've had very limited one-on-one talks, but the ones that we've had, it's been having great timing if it's on the receiving aspect, or how can you make a player connect with you. And that's the biggest thing. That's what I take most pride in, and that's what I admire most about him.
And I think one thing that's really cool about Huck compared to you is he's very old school.
Yes.
And then obviously you're in your mid-20s, so it's hard for you to be old school. As much as some people like us in our age in baseball, we can consider ourselves baseball purists, but we're not old school. What have you learned from his old school background that you have maybe not thought about, but now you have to think about?
I think from a training perspective, I think just the old aspect of being disciplined, being consistent in your work every single day, and working hard no matter what you do has been one thing. I'm a firm believer in that. And just from drill-wise, I would say the biggest thing I've learned from him is that a lot of it's the same. It's just putting twists on it, and it's just talking through it and making things more simple. That was something he really helped me out with, was when you're talking to athletes, you got to make it simple for them to relate to, make it understand for them to help translate into the game.
And we talked about how you were a very late addition to the coaching staff, still before the season, but I definitely noticed that once we got to the third mark in this 2024 season, you started to take a step forward and be a little more assertive with some of the catchers, and you worked with them, and all of a sudden you started to see improvements on the defensive end, which led to fewer runs being allowed by the pitching staff, and then some of their offensive numbers started to go up as well. What did you find inside of yourself that allowed you to become more of a coach as opposed to just being a part of the staff?
I think the biggest thing was when, with the catchers that we had last year, Hawk told me a few of the drills that he wanted us to do with them and kind of go off of that, but then he would come around to make sure that the drills were being done right and making sure we're doing on the right path. But as the catchers kept performing well, the more trust he gained in me, and then the more I just started working with them, and then the more the players started to perform. And that's where I think once you build that trust with someone, that's where growth happens. So.
And the main thing that you say is you want to make an impact on people. And Davey Grion was the primary catcher for the DockHounds last year. And there was a very stark difference in how he was framing his pitches and how he was receiving during the 2024 season, first half to second half. And as we mentioned, the DockHounds pitching staff ERA plummeted, which is good, in that second half. And that led the DockHounds to making the playoffs for the first time in the franchise's history. What was it like to see your impact on a catcher at this stage as opposed to maybe a 16-year-old high school catcher where maybe that impact can be greater, but with the player who has had experience at the major league level like Davey, to see you impact him like that?
I think it was we both had to build trust with each other there. Davey, that was besides us making playoffs, that was a true highlight for me that summer, to be able to work with him, gain his trust. And as we kept going, it was just building that connection to understand that what we're doing is right. And as he kept going throughout the summer, his confidence significantly went up, just because this wasn't just like a once-a-day thing. This was a twice-a-day thing that we were working on. If it was his receiving, his footwork, or his blocking, and that's where he made a big impact in my life, and hopefully I touched his a little bit.
Yeah, it was really cool to see him grow over the course of the season. You, the rest of the coaching staff, the pitching staff definitely deserve a lot of credit for that. And you mentioned the word confidence. That's one of the big things that you talk about on social. And you have a couple of reels or TikToks where you're solely talking about confidence. And there aren't a whole lot of reels that are focused on one sort of thing, but it's very clear that confidence is important to you. Why?
If you don't have the right mindset, you're not going to be able to play to the best of your abilities in this game. It doesn't matter what level you're at, from the youth level, high school level, college level or professional level, that you got to find a way to be consistent every single day and just find a way to overcome those demons in baseball, because it's an evil game sometimes, and your ability just to work and just stick to the grind every day. As cliche as it sounds, it's something where you need to maybe fake it till you make it, but you got to hold that confidence until you know that that you get there.
And for you finding confidence in your coaching, how did you do that? Was it through talking to mentors? Was it through talking to maybe Wags, Pano, or Huck on our coaching staff, or members of our front office, or even just other players? How did you find that confidence? Because it's a different type of confidence from your background as a player now to being a coach.
I think it's the same thing you can look at, like, from a playing perspective. You learn from your adversities. It's like conversations definitely help, and I'm thankful for all the conversations I may have had with Pano, Wags, Huck, but definitely, like, seeing players fail and, like, seeing, okay, that's something that we talked about. How can I make sure that we're doing this better for next time? And that's something where that confidence has grown for me, and, like, not caring as bad as it may sound, is that mistakes are going to happen in this game, and whatever you do to overcome them, that's what's going to help you get to that next level.
And during this off season, now that you can't coach for the DockHounds, of course that'll come back to us in April and May, you've been offering catching lessons. What's your favorite part about working one-on-one with a catcher who very clearly trusts you to the point where they are dedicating an hour and some money of their time to become a better player?
I mean, it's awesome to be able to say that you can help kids get to a college or help them start on their varsity program. That is something that will always, that holds true to me more than anything. That to be able to see a kid go from being a freshman in high school and committing to a Division I school or a Division II school or a collegiate program, that is truly something that means more to me than anything, because that's a product of just not my work, but it's 90% of the athletes' work, because they're the ones putting in the work, and they're just allowing me to be a part of that journey with them.
And it's cool to see some of the drills that you are doing in a lesson live on your social media, iron catching, as we already discussed. How did you come up with the idea that you wanted to take it further than the Lake Country area and from the DockHounds to potentially reaching some catcher in a foreign country who happens to stumble across your social media platform?
I think when you're looking from a social media platform, you're trying to impact as many people's lives as you can, and everybody knows from a social media standpoint, everybody's going to see at some point, whether you want to or may not want to. But at the end of the day, if you can make a positive impact in someone in some way, that's all my goal is.
And how did you come up with the inspiration of doing those videos and making them nice and short, and that you wanted to do that instead of maybe just making some posts and some swipe graphics? How did you come up with the idea of what iron catching has become?
Iron catching, that first, to start off on, like, the videos have really started off when people come across my page, I want them to see them as me. Like, I want you to see me through the videos. I don't want it to be like it's someone that is coming off as a hard coach or anything like that. I just want you to see me being authentic and understanding that I can make it simple for you, and you can learn a tip or two from there. And then going on to the whole iron catching part, that rooted, because I started this page probably back in 2021, and it was more of a personal account. It was more SPD catching. That was the original name, and that's the initials for my name. But something was happening when I started coaching at the facility, that I wanted to set a standard for my catchers, and to understand that is iron catching, iron sharpens iron as one man sharpens another, which is Proverbs 27:17, and that holds a standard for my catchers. Every time they go into a practice, a class, or anything like that, they're the ones that's holding the standard, they're the ones that's creating the culture, and they're the ones that will sharpen each other at the end of the day.
It was awesome when I saw it start to grow. This early in the off season, but also late in the season, you started to ramp it more up, and of course you had to because the season was coming to an end. What was it like for you seeing your platform start to grow?
It definitely gives you confidence, for one, but two, it's also cool to see that those people are following you to see what you're posting, and hopefully they learn a thing or two there. It's definitely cool to see, though.
And one of your things on iron catching that you tend to do is you say, DM me, I want to help you. Have you gotten any messages that have really meant a lot to you, either from someone who's not here or maybe from someone in the Lake Country area who hasn't had a great experience with a past coach, but someone who's really eager to learn about catching and become a better catcher, just a better baseball player?
Yeah, definitely. You get a few of those messages, and when you hear it from them, I mean, it's cool to hear messages from guys that are in Florida, Czech Republic, Australia, just saying, like, this tip helped me, or how else can I get some work in? And it means the world, because it means it's shaping people that aren't just in the United States here.
Yeah, and especially because baseball's a global game, and here at the Lake Country DockHounds, Davey Grullon, as we just mentioned, Henderson Perez was another catcher. We've had players from more than just the United States or even Mexico, which is right down the road from the United States. But for you to make that global impact, is that what you envisioned with iron catching?
When I started, no. When I started, I just wanted to post my athletes out there and get them exposed if there are any colleges following me, any professional coaches out there. And it was just, it's mainly for them. I never really thought about myself while doing this. It's for my players. I wouldn't be where I am without them.
And then what are some of your favorite drills that you like to do with catchers, and how do you think those drills impact them?
I definitely, if we're talking drills right now, I got to give Huck a shout out here. This past year, he had me do two old school drills of understanding on the receiving side to find timing. If it's open glove, old school taps, and then you add the new school load where all it is, you're just dropping your glove, and that helps you create momentum through the baseball. And those were two drills that made huge impacts with Davey and a few of the other catchers that we worked with this past year.
And then with you being in the bullpen for the Lake Country DockHounds, going to transition it back to the DockHounds here for a little bit. What are you doing during the game that maybe the fans can't see? Because you became a lot more involved with some of the scouting reports on opposing players in terms of tendencies and whatnot. But what are you doing down in the bullpen, either to pass the time or to help out the relievers?
I'm keeping probably the middle halfway throughout the year. I know Mitch could speak for this one. Is I kept a catcher's chart and then always having the walkie by me. That was always something that I had there. Or if it's keeping a little book for them for when the pitchers are ready to go into the game, so they know what the batters did coming up to plate, and understanding that there. From a fun side, if it's just playing some name games or just having our snack bag down there.
Snack bag. Well, have you ever had to take the pink bag?
I've never have. No, that's not my responsibility.
Well, what would happen if they told you that you had to take the pink bag?
Well, we'd find a way for me not to do that.
Okay, fair enough. Stevie is not one with the pink bag, which is typically used for a rookie or someone who maybe didn't do as well, and they're just trying to break them loose a little bit. Have you been the one who's given out the pink bag?
No, that's a player thing, and I stay out of it. They have their rules and what they do, so I just go along what they do down there.
Fair enough. We're talking to DockHounds bullpen coach Stevie Diderrich here. Thank you once again to everyone who joined us at the DockHouse tonight at Wisconsin Brewing Company Park every Wednesday at 5:45 Central Time. And Stevie, you, in addition to being the bullpen coach, you were the bullpen catcher. And there were points during this past season where the catchers on the team, and Davey was catching every game, so he wasn't expected to do the catching early in the day, but these pitchers are throwing bullpens during batting practice, and you have to catch all the bullpens throughout the day, and then you catch all the bullpens during the game, which could be one or two, or there are some days, especially if it's during a day game, where it's 6 or 7. How tough is it on your body, and how does that require you to be in great shape so that way you can battle through it, and that way there's no excuses for any time a ball's in the dirt, you go and block it, so that way you can get the ball back to your reliever as quickly as possible?
It's definitely the first week gets you back into shape with spring training, but it's more of a mindset more than anything that you can do it. And throughout the season, there are times, but players can't know that, and you just got to come up with a positive attitude every single day and try to find a way to put them first instead of yourself.
And being the bullpen catcher, you catch everyone. Was there certain pitches that when you first caught them, you're like, wow, this pitch is going to get some outs for the DockHounds this year?
Yeah, there was a couple early in the season. Brody Rodning definitely was a name that His cutter, his slider, that was one of the best pitches I've ever caught from the left side. But what made it hard is that he pitched across his body. And also, I think Shelby Lackey was up there too with his slider cutter deal, and then Eric Handhold, who was a former big leaguer that came in. I mean, there's so many names out there that you can put out there. This staff was incredible. I have nothing but incredible things to say about them. They did an incredible job.
And then for you in 2025, now that we've already started the year, and then for the 2025 regular season, but beyond that with iron catching and with giving your lessons, what goals do you have for yourself and also for your catchers?
I think for myself is just to keep growing with the DockHounds and seeing how I can help make an impact with this team this year and help us get to the playoffs, and just stay in my role and help any way I can there. And then for catchers, definitely be recognized as some of the top catchers in the American Association. That's the ultimate goal with this. And that was it. That's it.
You got Luke Napleton returning for the upcoming 2025 season. What's one thing that maybe DockHound fans weren't able to see about him that you might be able to expect in 2025?
I think with Luke, the more opportunities he gets, he's going to be great for us. And he's a hard worker. He's someone I enjoy working with every single day, and he's definitely made a great connection with him this offseason.
He was a part of the rookie crop that came in for the DockHounds in the second half of the 2024 season that allowed the team to make the playoffs for the first time in franchise history, hoping to make it back-to-back and then also win our first playoff game in 2025. Stevie, thank you so much for joining me tonight. And thank you for being a tremendous friend and roommate. You are the better of the two in our little duo. A lot of great memories during the 2024 season. I can't wait to make some more in 2025.
I agree, Dom. Thanks for having me, man.
No problem. And thank you so much for coming out again, everyone.